Okay, we are back. If you're just joining us, welcome. We are glad you could join us for day 3 of the Smart Restart Virtual Parent Conference 2020. Our second session for the evening is Motivating Your Child to Learn at Home. It will be presented by Mrs. Kimberly Runnels, who is a proud second-generation graduate of Prairie View A&M University. She has been with Dallas ISD for the past 22 years. She is currently serving as a campus support team coach in the Family and Community Engagement Office of Dallas ISD. So, Ms. Runnels, if you're ready, I will turn it over to you at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Before I get started, I just want to share the mission of the Family and Community Engagement Office, which is to establish and provide opportunities to engage families, schools, and the community in partnerships that enhance academic achievement, social, emotional competence, and racial equity for all children. And with that being said, hello, I'm glad you've joined us for Motivating My Child to Learn at Home. This pandemic has led to an entirely new way of life. Did you ever fathom your child would be learning at home and that you would play a vital role in the learning process? Next slide. Today's objectives are to share parental involvement expectations, highlighting the 5 roles, give guidance on how to support learning at home, provide strategies to motivate students to learn at home, and to provide you with ways to maintain your social, physical, and mental health. Next slide. The 5 roles families play to accelerate student learning. First, what's expected of me? We can't discuss parental involvement without the 5 roles. These are the parts you must play as a parent to ensure your child's academic progress. Communicate, monitor, support, guide, and advocate. The 5 roles. Next slide. Role number 1, communicate, communicate, communicate. I cannot say it enough. You are the encourager, communicating high expectations for your child and to your child. Encourage them to ask questions and express their feelings. Ensure that your child is maintaining contact with teachers. Weekly chats are necessary. Also, you're asked to stay in touch with other parents to work through it together. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And lastly, turn off the news and talk to your child about what's going on and how they are feeling. Next slide. Role number 2, monitor. It's very important. You log into Parent Portal to check assignments, grades, and attendance. Monitoring also includes recognizing and celebrating your child's achievements, no matter how small they may be. It's important. This is especially important for elementary age school children who require constant positive reinforcement to keep them motivated to learn and challenge themselves to do better. Next slide. Support. Just as displayed in the graphic, you are seated with your child, reviewing assignments, comparing what was assigned and what has been completed. Support also includes staying connected to other and parent groups, such as PTA or PTO, and ensuring your child is having quality interactions with friends and peers. Next slide. With this new role, you're placing your child on the path for continued academic success by guiding their efforts. Keep a routine. Wake up, get dressed, Have breakfast at the normal time. For younger children, 20 minutes of class assignments followed by 10 minutes of physical activity might work well. Older children and teens may be able to focus on assignments for longer stretches. Taking breaks between subjects. Don't forget, afternoon breaks as well. To practice guidance, work with your child to set a timetable for their study. Strategies include list the times for learning, times for exercise, and for breaks. Stipulate which subjects will be completed during each session. Organize. Helping your child organize his papers, books, and assignments will go a long way to helping him or her feel motivated to learn. Decide where everyone can do their work most effectively and without distractions. This organization is typical among young school-aged children, but it can also lead to a feeling of being overwhelmed, which detracts from motivation. Whereas organization is important to foster motivation and the behaviors that lead to motivation. Guidance comes in many forms. Enjoy family time, cook together, eat together as a family, and discuss the day. In the evenings, make sure you're playing, reading, watching a movie, or exercising together. Always take the opportunity to do something together, whether it be a board game or a project in the home. Playing cards, making up silly songs, looking at old family photos. Take photos and write a story about them. Your child will be learning and having fun all at the same time. The last of the 5 roles. To advocate for your child, the first 4 roles must be in place. When you're advocating, speak up about your concerns. Write down your thoughts, show emotion, but please be respectful. Make the teacher your ally. Build that trust. And when you're in need of services to help your child, contact your child's school counselor for assistance. And finally, know your child's moods. And you may ask, why do I need to know my child's moods? You'll need to be familiar with their moods to discern frustration or feelings of being overwhelmed. It's important to knowing when to advocate. How to support learning at home. You can use these activities to engage learning. Number 1, create a clock using a paper plate and other materials. Ask your child to post the time on the makeshift clock throughout the day. They're learning, they're using arts and crafts, and they're enjoying themselves. When outside playing hopscotch, have children skip a math problem. 3 + 4 = 7. Something so simple can also be a tool for learning. Teach fractions by cutting a pizza into 4 or 8 slices, noting 1/4 is gone or half is eaten. While preparing meals with your child, use measuring cups and spoons. A perfect way to include family time and learning time. Again, your child will learn and have fun at the same time. Next slide. Next slide. From unmotivated to motivated. Have you found your child's behavior to be unmotivated or flat out lazy during the pandemic? Here are questions to ask yourself. If you would go back 1 slide, you skipped 1. There's a slide before. Yes, thank you. What does your child want? What is your child's passion? Am I encouraging my child's passion? Is my parental involvement nourishing? These are very important questions to ask yourself as a parent. We've asked the questions regarding your child's wants and passions. Now what? Here are additional strategies. Create an open atmosphere where your child feels comfortable expressing his or her likes, dislikes, or concerns. When he or she shares their opinion, make sure to validate the feelings, even if you disagree. When children feel like their opinion doesn't matter or they're stuck, they're likely to disengage from the learning process. Expose your child to a variety of activities, offering support for your child's passion. While this is certainly a stressful time, it's also an opportunity. With extra time at home, talk to your child about their strengths, interests, and where they might need support. This is a journey. What are you seeing? One positive thing that might come out of this situation is that you'll get a more up-close look at how your child is progressing and what they need. Are you seeing a child that's more confident, consistent, inquisitive? Feeding your child's passion will motivate them to learn. Next slide. How SEL can help. Social and emotional learning. SEL provides an opportunity to not only build school-based skills such as communication, teamwork, and valuing the perspective of others, but it also allows us to build greater resilience, mindfulness, and the ability to manage stress during challenging times. In other words, we need SEL now more than ever. There are 3 facets here. Self-awareness. Do an emotional check-in using the mood meter, shown here. How is your child feeling that day? Is your child with high energy, low energy, pleasant? It's important that they're self-aware. Self-management. To manage stress, take a 1-minute brain break. This will help to curb those negative behaviors. If you're seeing they're overwhelmed, you're seeing confusion, take the brain break. And lastly, responsible decision-making, considering the well-being of themselves and others. On the Dallas ISD webpage, Social and Emotional Learning has at-home learning resources. I encourage you to go there and find other activities that you and your child can participate in. Next slide. Have you felt like this? You may be feeling overwhelmed and underappreciated as a caregiver or family member during the pandemic. Next slide. To maintain your social, mental, and physical health, tap into your support system. Use social media to connect with others, family, friends. Use Google Hangout, FaceTime, and other methods. Stay connected. Learn something new. Research online, self-paced learning, cooking, art, dancing. All of those things can be found online. Pamper yourself. You may not be able to get to the salon, but body scrubs, foot scrubs, and the like are found at your neighborhood store. Get outside alone. Take some time to enjoy the outdoors alone. Go out to the yard and do some stretches. Have a seat on the porch and read a book. Take a walk. In other words, take care of you. Start journaling. Outdoor time alone will provide you the quiet time you need to refresh and reboot. Clear the clutter from your mind by writing it all down. In addition, document any interesting details from the day and take to jotting down things you're thankful for. Rereading your entries in the years to come will be an interesting experience. And finally, Create a photo journal. Each day, snap a picture of something fun or interesting your family is doing. Create a special photo album just for these pictures. Once things settle down and regular life activities resume, consider creating a photo book. This will be an awesome memory to look back on. Next slide. I hope the strategies presented tonight are helpful. I hope that you do practice them. And here are our page, a page of resources. We have our tiny URLs for at-home learning website, tips and resources for parents to support learning at home, the African American Homeschool Moms website, distance learning expectations, Distance Learning Resource Center. So please take a photo of the resource page so that you may gain more information about motivating your child to work from home. Remember, these resources will be made available to you at dallasisd.org/Smart Restart Parents, as well as a recorded version of this session. Thank you for participating in motivating my child to learn at home.
Okay, it is now time for our interactive Q&A session with Mrs. Runnels. Just like before, I will ask her some of the top questions that were asked during the presentation. First, what should parents do if the online learning time frames are too long for their child to sit and stay focused?
Definitely discuss with the child's teacher. Modifications can be made. And if you're noticing, as you said, the times are too long, take those brain breaks that were suggested. 10 minutes of instruction and maybe 10 minutes of play can go a long way with keeping a child on task, but definitely discuss with the child's teacher for modifications.
Okay. What if my child is reluctant to actively participate in the virtual learning setting?
That is very much a challenge. But again, going back to feeding the child's passion, try to correlate or coincide with what the child wants to do in learning. Maybe you have a child that loves baseball. How can you include instruction in the baseball play? Or is that a reward for getting one's work done? So it's about you trying to figure out, you and the teacher, of course, trying to figure out how to motivate the child.
Okay. When learning virtually, how should parents ensure their child is completing assignments and turning them in? Because waiting until it shows up on Parent Portal is sometimes too late.
And that's when we definitely have to monitor daily. I would definitely suggest daily asking a child and have you completed your assignments? Let me review them with you. Let's look over them together daily. And it doesn't have to take a long time. You're just ensuring that they've done the assignments.
What do parents do if they notice their child is no longer seems to want to participate and display signs of depression?
That's when you definitely call in other supports. We have our school counselors, and they can assist with youth and family or any other activities or remedies to help with low-grade depression of that sort, or a child who's just very defiant. Get the school counselor involved. And also SEL, Social and Emotional Learning, there are representatives on campuses, and they too have activities and online activities that could assist in situations such as these.
Next question. How are parents supposed to do the actions mentioned in the presentation when they work while their child is home learning virtually?
Dependent upon the age of the child, even if a parent is working, I'm going to guess that a 5 or 6-year-old has some sort of adult supervision home with them. I'm hopeful. And these are strategies that whomever is monitoring a child, caring for a child during the day, they can practice these things. And again, if a parent is working during the day, once you're home in the evenings, again, sit down with the child, review the day, review the assignments, review the completed work.
Any specific suggestions for motivating teenagers with attitudes? We all have had that problem.
Definitely. You know, when it comes to teens, you really do have to meet them halfway, more of a win-win situation. What is it that they're gaining and that you are gaining? Unlike small children, where if I give you a directive, most often you're going to complete it. But with a teen, a lot of times there may be some bargaining that needs to occur so that they get what they want and you get what you want, which is for them to participate in the virtual learning.
If your child learns better through one-on-one interaction, how will the teacher balance this with online and in-person instruction with over 20 students in a class?
Well, that's the age-old question. Even before the pandemic, before COVID-19, class size and the time that teachers have with individual students. But one of the things I know that occurs in Dallas ISD are small groups. Small groups are definitely occurring in schools throughout the district where teachers are having one-on-one time with students or one-on-two, one-on-three. That definitely happens. And if the teacher believes that this is something that your child needs, they will definitely pull them aside into a small group. Or if you feel that your child needs a small group, communicate with the teacher. I think my child would do better if a few minutes a day, an hour a day, it were just he and an educator or a smaller group of students, one or two. Communicate that.
Okay, there are some more general questions that you and I can try to help answer as well. It says, how do you address when the teachers are on their cell phones during class time?
It depends. That could definitely be for instructional purposes. Most times, pretty much every school now in the district is on some form of GroupMe app, and the teachers and administrators keep in touch with each other via cell phone. Not wanting to disrupt classrooms, the intercom systems are very seldom used in a lot of schools now, and cell phones have become a necessity on a lot of jobs, and teaching is no different. Teaching is no different. And you never know if the teacher is in communication with an administrator or another parent.
And so if parents have that concern, how should they, what approach should they take to have that concern addressed?
Address it with the teacher first. Address it with the teacher first. Again, show your feelings, but be respectful. I'm concerned. I noticed that you're on the cell phone quite a bit during instruction. I don't know whom you're communicating with, but I am concerned. And at that point, the teacher would answer and hopefully modify that behavior, depending upon why they're on the cell phone.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned some great strategies earlier. on family activities that parents can do with their children. And one parent mentioned that she says, I would encourage older kids to reach out to teachers as well. This is something I'm trying to get my daughter to do and be more of an advocate for herself. So, what are some strategies that parents can do to teach their child to be an advocate for themselves and to speak up and to initiate contact with teachers?
Definitely talking with your child, communicating with your team, and asking the question, have you spoken with your teacher this week? Have you discussed what you were telling me about, the challenge you were having with this specific subject? Again, putting it on the student to advocate for themselves, but the parent does have to be consistent with it. Be consistent. Again, weekly chats are encouraged. So have you made contact with your teacher this week? Even the parent as well. No more than 5 days should go by without some sort of communication with the teacher. Communication needs to be consistent and consistent and constant with the teacher. And that's for the teen and for the parent. I would suggest no more than a lapse of 5 days at the most. Weekly chats are encouraged, most definitely, just to stay on top of things. And even more, if the subject is challenging, the student is having issues in the classroom, then you really need to be in contact with this teacher, student and parent.
What do parents do if they've contacted the teacher several times via email and they just do not receive a response back?
That is when, via email, well, if you have a phone number, a cell phone number, I would say text. I would try all the mediums: cell, phone call, text, email. If you're still not getting a response, then you may have to seek some assistance from an administrator. But definitely try all the modes of communication before contacting an administrator.
Mm-hmm. Well, and another parent question says, can you over communicate? I don't want to bug the teacher, but I am a communicator and a networker. But is there a such thing as over communicating?
I don't think so. I don't believe so. I feel like if you are communicating with the teacher, then you're discussing something of importance. We're not calling teachers to ask how's the weather and, what are you cooking for your family tonight? That's not what we're discussing. We're actually discussing our child and instruction. And so I don't believe that you can over communicate. Now, with that being said, if you should find that at one point the teacher was answering your correspondence readily and now it's taking a few days, then maybe that's more of the teacher's timeline, 3 days or 2 to 3 days, and not an everyday sort of chat. But definitely once a week, most definitely some sort of communication once a week. Especially since we're in this virtual instruction and it's so new to everyone. It's new to the teachers, it's new for the students and the parents. And so we're going to definitely have to communicate quite a bit in these first weeks and months.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes things get lost in translation. And as one parent says, what should we do if the teacher prefers to text? However, the texting seems to be an issue with tone.
That's something to discuss with the teacher. I would, if it were me, I would actually respond to the text that I'm not comfortable with receiving text from you. could we please speak either via Zoom or a phone call? I mean, just ask for what you want, because if it appears that the tone of the text is not to your liking, then you need to hear or see the person's face to read their emotions and decipher what they're saying. So ask for what you want. Ask for what you want.
We've had a debate at our house. Will you please describe appropriate clothing for virtual learning? How parents should go about making sure their kids are dressing appropriately while learning online?
At the least, a polo shirt, at the least. I think it enhances the students' instructional time if it's a complete immersion into a school day. And so at the least, they need to have on a presentable uniform shirt or some other polo or button-down shirt of some sort. I think it will help. I think that will go a long way with getting them accustomed to waking up, having a routine, and getting on the computer or the device of some sort, and they're dressed and ready, appropriate for a day of learning.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will help a lot.
Okay, what if a student needs extra time with a teacher on a certain subject? What should parents do?
Again, that's where those weekly chats come in. That's where the chats come in. And again, I would suggest that you write down your concerns. Truly start on Monday. And if you're noticing on Monday, each hour that we have the math lessons, my child can't finish. And then it's Tuesday, he still hasn't finished. It's Wednesday, half done. Okay, we need to be speaking with the teacher. We need to speak with the teacher about either modifying the assignment, allowing more time, or what can I do as a parent to help my child finish this in a timely manner. But this is what I'm noting. I mean, be prepared when you're discussing your challenges with the teacher. Make sure you're letting them know exactly what you're seeing, what's occurring.
Okay. Another question. I worry about my child's social interaction. How will friendships and interaction between children be fostered virtually?
It's doable. It is very doable. What I've noted in these last few months, small children having virtual birthday parties, small children playing games virtually with their friends in the neighborhood. It's doable. It's not perfect, and it's not necessarily the best way for children to interact, but it is interaction, and they need that. They need that. They need that play time with other children, even if it's online.
Do you have tips for parents with children in different programs, such as the Gifted and Talented program? How can they motivate their child to continue to learn and grow outside of just the online virtual learning?
Most gifted and talented students, most of the gifted and talented programs in the district are research-based. There are a lot of research-based activities. And so even though they're not in face-to-face in a classroom, they can still participate in research activities virtually. Again, we're going back to, what is your child's passion? If your child's passion is baseball, why can they not complete a research project on baseball or one of their favorite baseball players? There's a way to make any activity a learning activity, anything fun, but you just have to meld the two together.
I do want to emphasize to parents that if their child is receiving any type of special services they will continue to receive those special services online, virtually as well. Okay. And let's see here. Will remote learning have any face-to-face time with teachers that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm just not aware of it. It could be, but I'm not. I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know the answer to that.
Right. Okay. And I guess that would depend on the teacher's schedule, right? And so that'd be a good question, perhaps or a question that when they begin, orientation for the new school year, they'll be able to find out what the schedule looks like and if there is some one-on-one time available. Mm-hmm. Okay. Online learning should be free of being at school. I'm trying to read it completely. Being at school. What is appropriate attire if polos are not very comfortable for my child?
Polos are not very comfortable. Well, if a polo isn't very comfortable, I don't know how comfortable a button-down shirt would be either.
I guess what they're asking is it still appropriate? Would it be okay if children were to dress in t-shirts and regular clothes? Would that still be appropriate?
I'm not certain, because I want to say I saw something that said they wanted the children in the uniform shirts still, even virtually. I think it depends on your child.
And it depends on the school too, I'd probably say. Just to add in as a former principal, I think it also depends on the school. And some schools aren't. Not all schools are standardized dress, so it kind of depends. And that's a good question for the school. As we go back into the school year, what is appropriate attire, or what are the expectations for attire?
Definitely.
Last question is, how do I set expectations for my child for online learning? And
that really goes back to the assignments. At the beginning of the school year, at the beginning of the week, the teacher has the assignments and the objectives for the week. And that's how your expectations can be set. The teacher has asked for this to be completed, this chapter to be read, these pages to be done, this project to begin. And as a parent, you're monitoring this progress. And this is where the expectations come in. I want to be when I'm chatting with your teacher, I want to be able to say, he or she has done what was asked of them regarding instruction. And that's where your expectations can begin. And even outside of instruction, expectations for discipline, expectations regarding expressing themselves, and letting the parent know how they're feeling about the virtual learning, how they're feeling about not being at school, those sorts of things. But again, that's communication. That's communication, constantly speaking with your child.
Mm-hmm. And we do have some central administrative fellows ISD people on here, and I've just been informed that uniforms are not required for virtual students. However, appropriate attire would prohibit negative words or graphics that may impede instruction. So basically what she's saying is that not necessarily uniforms, but just attire that doesn't have negative words or is appropriate for learning, or it doesn't prohibit students from learning, or it's not a distraction for the student or other students in the classroom. So Thank you for that. Last question. How often should teachers post grades for assignments, and when should I contact a teacher if grades have not been posted in a timely manner?
I'm sorry. I'm I don't know the answer about posting grades. I'm not certain if that's by school, or I wouldn't know how often they post. That's not, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that.
Right. And I give a generic answer, but I just as an educator, I would think, I know that teachers are required to take so many grades per subject. So I would just encourage anybody, if you think that the grades aren't being submitted in a timely manner or uploaded to the grade book in a timely manner, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to the teacher and just say, you know, I've looked on parent portal on the grade book a couple of times, and I haven't seen, I know my child turned in some science work and I haven't seen those grades posted, or just simply ask, how often do you plan to post grades? Because I'd like to be, you know, engaged and be able to see those grades when they're posted so that they can stay on top of things. I know a lot of parents want to do that. And I don't think that's an inappropriate question for a teacher if you have that concern. So, okay. Let's see here what we have. Well, that concludes our second session of the evening. We'd like to thank Mrs. Kimberly Runnels for so graciously presenting and sharing how to keep your children motivated to learn even at home. And thanks, Kimberly, for that. And we know we gave you lots of questions, so thanks for sitting through and answering those questions the best of your ability. Thank you.
Thank you.